everybody. Hi, Facebook family. I'm here with the incredible Dr. Mary. Um,
Hello.
Thank you for being with us today, Dr. Mary.
Of course, I'm happy to be here for this topic.
Yes, absolutely. And for those who don't know me, my name's Christiana. I'm one of the grief coaches here at the Pet Loss Support Team. And today we felt like it was really important, especially with the time of year, to talk a little bit about anticipatory grief,
Mhm.
especially preparing for the holiday season. A lot of people don't even know that anticipatory grief is a thing. Have you ever met anybody, Dr. Mary, who didn't really know that was a thing until you mentioned it to them?
Right, yeah, so many. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going through that right now. Like I didn't know it was a thing. So I think it's really good that we're discussing it and talking about it because
Yeah,
I think it could be really helpful just mentioning it and going over some tips that we're going to share.
exactly. Yeah. And anticipatory grief is the feeling of grief before we have a loved one pass, when we are expecting that. And it has a lot of the same components of grief, and there's a lot of losses along the way. Sometimes our independence, if we can't leave the house for very long, sometimes, our walking buddy, but it's also coupled with feelings oftentimes of just anxiety and dread of the unknown, so, yeah, just want to kind of talk a little bit about how we can prepare a little bit. And of course, at the end, if you guys have any questions, we'll leave some time for that. So I just was wondering if we can start out, Dr. Mary. Is it something that you notice in the holiday season? They talk about the stages of grief. One of them tends to be bargaining, right? And when I think of bargaining, I think of this idea of like, oh, if you can just make it till Christmas, if you can just
Yes.
make it till Thanksgiving. Do you find people kind of trying to hold out a little bit longer in the holiday season?
Absolutely. And I am a victim of doing that myself too. So this is not something to think you're weird if you do that, because even I've done it myself. And we do see that it's for a few reasons, and it's usually just make it through Christmas, right? They want to make it to the other side of Christmas, so that way they're there. And so a few reasons. One is that they can celebrate that holiday because it's whatever holiday that may be: Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, a birthday, their birthday. So I think that bargaining is or hope. It's just hope they could make it and be a part of one more. And or we have family that's coming from out of town and we want to wait until they're present, so they could either say, hi and goodbye before we say goodbye, and or be actually present for the goodbye. So I think there's a couple of reasons why people wait. There's also reasons why people say goodbye right before the holidays, because they have people coming in from out of town. And you mentioned the independence thing, and like that's huge. And caring for a sick and terminally ill pet takes a lot of time, a lot of physicality, a lot of cleaning, prepping, all those things. And so sometimes we say goodbye before the holidays because we have so many people coming in, and we have a little bit of guilt sometimes from that, right? And or we have to travel for the holidays, and then I had to let you go because I was going to go away for Christmas, and you have guilt on that too. So the holidays add a lot of complexities to
Oh,
this.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because there are so many times where, we're faced with two really not very ideal situations. It's okay, say goodbye before you leave, or take the risk of something happening when you're gone.
I don't.
Um,
Yeah,
and it's
I
it's
don't
just,
like that.
yeah, sometimes it's not easy, and when we have to choose between two different really unideal choices, it may feel like that's what we wanted, but
It
also recognizing that not making a choice is a choice, right?
Oh, that's such a good point. And listen, none of us ever want to say goodbye.
Mm-mm.
Full stop, right? Never, ever. I wish I had all of my pets that are, I have my paw prints behind me. I wish they were still here. So, but since we're just on this topic, and I just think it is timely, our pets are so fragile towards the end. They're so fragile. They've got, some dementia, they've got pain and anxiety, they've got so much going on, and to leave them in the care of a boarding facility or something like that, because we can't imagine saying goodbye beforehand. I personally struggled with that. Like, there was no way I could have done that. So either I canceled my trip or I said goodbye before. And it's so hard, but in some ways, and this might seem a little weird to some people, but you have a sense of relief afterwards because they're not well. They are in a stage of dying, right? We're just caring for them. And sometimes when they've gone, it's almost a relief. Not that you ever want to say goodbye, but I have my independence back. I can travel and not worry. And, I once went to a pet loss support group. This is like 15 years ago. And I just wanted to check it out. It was a local one. And there was a woman there that was grieving really hard. And she was there for a year since her pet passed. And so, I told my story and I said, I let my girl Sarissa go, a little, she still was okay some days. And so she's like, you stole good days from your dog. And I was like, oh, this wasn't very supportive. But yeah. I said, yes, I did. I did steal good days. But more importantly, I took away the potential of any bad day. And she was having bad days. And she would have some good moments. And we should not confuse the two between a good moment and a good day. And I made sure that she was not going to have any bad days. And I had to sacrifice some good ones so she didn't suffer. And it's really tough. And it's hard. So I don't want anybody feeling guilty that if their pet is so sick and not well that they need to say goodbye before the holidays, that's okay. And don't think you're doing it because you're selfish or anything like that. You're doing all what you're doing now because you care. And it's okay to say goodbye.
Right. Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned relief, and I want to get back to anticipatory grief, but I think this does tie in because a lot of people, they feel guilty for having that feeling of relief. And, when we think about it, what is the definition of relief? It is eliminating a stressor. Okay. That's not saying that your pet is a stressor, but seeing them sick and suffering, not knowing what to do to make them feel better, and not necessarily being able to leave your house for very long. Those are stressors.
Sleeping through the night, sleeping on the couch next to them. Like, listen, when Sam went, I would have taken care of my girl Sam, and it was hard for another 20 years. But the night that when I let her go, that night I slept through the night like a rock. Like I was, I had myself to sleep, and my eyes were probably like crusty shut, and I didn't have that stress. So that's I like that definition. I never really looked into the definition of relief. So I learned something.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, that doesn't mean that you love them any less. Right. And I just really also want to validate people who are really struggling to say goodbye before the holidays, because it's not easy. None of this is ever easy. And I want to kind of go into, if you're okay, Dr. May, a little bit on how to prepare both on the medical side if we're not quite ready to say goodbye. And then can talk a little bit on dealing with that anticipatory grief. So what would you recommend if somebody, they know that they're coming towards the end, but they're just not quite ready to make that call to Lap of Love or to their veterinarian?
Well, I think what you should do is actually call your veterinarian or a company like ours that could help with hospice care to make sure that you're set up successfully for any struggles that pet may have. So making sure you have the best medication on hand. So pain management, anxiety management, if they're on an appetite stimulant or an anti-nausea medication, making sure you have enough to carry you through the holidays. Because remember, sometimes our clinics are closed, right? Sometimes you may be getting medications from a supply company that has delayed supplies, and the holidays shipping is always a thing, right? Maybe you're using a compounding pharmacy that's closed for that week. So just make sure you have enough on hand to make it through that and past that, right? So not just enough till the 26th. And talk to your doctor, because there's going to be a lot going on too. So you might have a lot of people coming in and out of the house. You might be, they might be getting up and down more, so they might be struggling a bit more. So just, joining with your veterinarian to make sure that they've got enough medicine. And so I think that's important. And I think people, they don't want to call us because they're worried, because I think calling us is like they, the big call. But we do hospice too, right? And hospice is not about prolonging it. It's about actually living well until we say goodbye. And so let's live well through the holidays until we could say goodbye, or be prepared beforehand. And I think also talking to your vet is important if you want to understand what the hours are. So if you get close, if you're pushing things, I hate to use that word, but if we are delaying, and we're just hoping, if you're at the stage where you're like, I hope we can make it to the holidays, we're probably already pushing things, right? Like we're kind of pushing it. So therefore, I want everybody to be prepared. So what are your veterinarian's office hours? Are they going out of town and then they have a relief vet coming in or nobody coming in? And so now your only option is the emergency clinic, and that's not, good. What about us? We cover a lot of areas, but we also don't cover all areas. And maybe in the area that you do live in, we only have one veterinarian there, and they're going out of town. So preparing and knowing your options in advance, if a turn goes for the worst, is just a good thing to have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, the option is the emergency clinic, and that's the least optimal place to say goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think there are things that we necessarily always, think ahead about. And when we're in a state of distress, if we do get to an emergency situation, that's not the time. It's unrealistic to expect our brains to work at, maximum capacity in terms of decision making and sound decisions and thinking those things out.
Yeah. You're already stressed now, right? Like if you're in anticipatory grief, you're already stressed. Right. Then adding where it's now time, or the pet's struggling really tough, right? Or not being able to breathe, then you're just, 100% stressed. And it also gives you time to prep for bucket lists, for getting memorial items, for things like that, for having little parties, with the pet, like all those things that we could do beforehand is better to just plan ahead.
Right. Yeah. And, you mentioned that people often hesitate to call us because, they think like, oh gosh, today's got to be the day that, we say goodbye. And honestly, people call us all the time, and we invite them to just call, set up a profile, ask about what doctors are in the area, so that you can kind of go through all that information ahead of time,
Yes.
So that's one thing that I love about Lap of Love is we invite people to call so that we can support you, even if you're just starting out thinking about it.
Yeah, I think setting expectations in everything in life is really important, right? And you may live so far out of town that we can only help you during the afternoons because you're so far away from our veterinarian, and so that's just setting expectations so that we don't call and you're like shocked that I can't come help at 6 o'clock at night, like that. I think it's just good to set that up, and so that way it's sort of like you don't have to now stress about that, because that's a part of the stress, right? So let's set that up, and like you said, just set up a profile, talk about all the logistics, and get that check mark done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And on the anticipatory grief side, I think that there are some things that you can do. Dr. Mary, you already listed a few of them, the bucket list, and and sometimes we usually will have to adjust our bucket list, from what it might have been 5 years ago. And that's okay. And I also like to say, you know what, like I'm all about celebrating half birthdays, or why wait till Christmas, or why wait till Thanksgiving or Hanukkah or whatever you do celebrate, open those presents up, take those pictures ahead of time. And if they make it till that holiday, even better.
Yeah. I remember one of my best memories around the holidays was a Bogey, a golden retriever out in Southern California. And they called me in the beginning of December, and Bogey had lymphoma. And when I went there, he was the typical golden, just a happy gene, the tail's wagging, arthritic and but just a lover. And I sat down with the family, and their house was all decorated and for Christmas. And they said, do you think he'll make it to the holidays? Like that was, legit their question. And so I don't know, by the way, right? We don't know. So I don't know how much this cancer is in his body. Like I don't know. So and one of their concerns was, or questions was, because every year Bogey's on the Christmas card. So did I think they should put him on the Christmas card? That was their second question. And I said, absolutely, Bogey should be on this Christmas card. I can't guarantee you that he'll be here, but he may just be your Christmas angel, but he can still be on that Christmas card. And Bogey did make it to Christmas, but on New Year's Eve they called me. So just 1 week later, and they said he's not doing well. And I was in town, so I helped him on New Year's Eve say goodbye. And they had like a little party for him. It was sweet that, you know, his next adventure was in the new year, and we did that for him. So I forgot what that point was. Oh, it's just about the Christmas. It's making the Christmas card.
Yeah, no, right. And just, kind of letting yourself do those things ahead of time, for the, just in case, so that you can, if something does happen, you can look back and say you did that. And if they do
Yes.
make it even better, so yeah, no, I love that story.
Bucket lists also are my favorite thing. Like I just love them. And like you said, they're not going to be like what they were 3 years ago, right? We're not walking a mile on the beach. For my Doberman, Duncan, his was like peeing on the neighbor's plants, check. Barking at the mail truck, check, because he did. Having all his girlfriends over because he was, all the ladies loved my Duncan. And so, all his girlfriends came, we took pictures. So it doesn't have to be grandiose. It was, having an In-N-Out party, which was a fast food chain in Southern California. And so, a sleep out with mom. And, I was doing that every night anyway. So I put a nice name around it, like a slumber party. So I think those are so helpful because as you're always going to be sad. There's nothing that could take that away, but you can remove some regret. And by doing these things, I want to remove regret. And Christiana, there's two things that families will say to their pet typically during a euthanasia. They'll either say, "I'm sorry," like, "I'm sorry, Duncan, I'm sorry." And that hurts my heart. Like, because we should never be, "I'm sorry." Like, you've done a great job, but it's just something that people say. The other thing that some people say, and this is what I prefer, is "thank you." And I think when we can do some prepping during this time, and it will help us with our anticipatory grief, but it will also let us say thank you and change the narrative of our goodbye. And I thanked my Duncan for, protecting me from that mail truck. So
Yes. Oh, and I love that. Just those examples of how we can adjust a bucket list, for where they are now, and what I will say too is that if we are just, trying to hold out, or we're not sure, that sometimes we do get put in a situation where we are having an emergency situation that's not what we had planned. That doesn't mean it has to necessarily be as, this horror story that we think it might be. There are some things we can do even then, like if you know that there are some songs that you really want to have at their goodbye, have that saved on your phone. So
yeah, have a playlist. Totally. Yeah. You know what my song is? I love it when people play this at homes, and it's common, but I love it. Is the Ukulele Over the Rainbow, like the Hawaiian version? I hear that, and I just start crying. So that's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. So doing those things to prepare ahead of time, and or if there's a letter, or if there's like a special blanket or toy, just have that, by the door or somewhere that's like really easy to reach, so that no matter the situation, you can look back and, like you said, eliminate a few of those regrets. You did get to do that. Yes. And make it as peaceful as it was possible, right? Because we have to give ourselves permission to be human. You said that everybody says, or many people say, "I'm sorry," and I hear that too. And we don't have a crystal ball, first of all. Right. We can't predict these things. And second of all, death is not a failure. I think sometimes people think that their pet passing, that they've done something, and death is not a failure. It's hard, right?
It's the worst part of owning is saying goodbye.
Yeah.
So I get it. Yeah. That's so true. It's not a failure. And it's not a failure saying goodbye a little bit, sooner too. So I think that's important.
Right. And I just love that kind of just reframing from guilt to gratitude.
Yeah.
You know,
It's so true. There was one family I helped. Again, it's in California, and they were from Germany. So they were a German family, and it was just such a beautiful scene. They were all wearing like white linen outfits. They had these white linen curtains hanging in the back, like the patio, like so they're flowing, and it was just like perfect. And this big brown dog named Scooby, and Scooby was laying there, and I sedated Scooby, so everybody was loving up on him. And the children said, "Danke, Scooby, danke." So they,
yeah,
it was
no.
so sweet to hear the children say it in German too. So I want everybody to say thank you.
Yes. No, absolutely. I love that. And, you know, I'm wondering also what you would say might be, because, when our dogs get older, we kind of get used to, or we know they're sick, we kind of get used to certain changes. Are there any things that might be red flags, that might be like, okay, this can't wait, this is something
Yeah.
we kind of need to, this is we're not going to make it, or to when
Yeah.
we want to make it, we want to make sure that they don't struggle more than they have to. What are some red flags to keep an eye out for?
Okay. So my biggest encouragement, I think, is if your pet has anything cat or dog or bird or rabbit, anything that restricts their breathing. Not being able to breathe is the worst thing, right? I will take arthritic pain versus struggling to breathe. Like that, your body, your mind wants to breathe. And when you can't, anxiety hits in. And anxiety is the worst thing, and struggling to breathe. So heart disease, so heart failure, laryngeal paralysis, a collapsing trachea, pneumonia, like all these things that metastasis to the lungs of cancer. Anything where your pet has a disease where breathing is an issue, I encourage to say goodbye sooner, because it's sort of the cliff. What happens is that they struggle, they're okay-ish, and then it's a cliff. Boom. Way different than kidney disease, which is a low, slow, I call that the slow fade, where they're just kind of fade. Dementia, it's a slow. Arthritis, you could go for days with these things. I'm not saying it's good, but you can go for days. But when you can't breathe, that's emergency. So if you see your dog or cat extending their neck, only wanting to sit like a sphinx, like on their chest, because that helps expand their lungs a little bit. If you see just you can see the signs of struggling to breathe, that's not good. That cannot wait, and that you have to get help. Whether it's getting on some heart medications because you haven't had them on heart medications, like all the things. But that, to me, if anybody can hear my my plea, that's the one, because those are the 2 a.m. Those are the 2 a.m. emergency situations, and you're rushing your pet that can't breathe well to an emergency room, because we don't help in the middle of the night. Our goal is a peaceful, supportive, loving euthanasia. That does not mean waiting until the very, very end. And I get it. And I don't mean this by any judgment. It's because it can happen like all of a sudden, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we can prepare and we know our pets have this disease, then we could try to mitigate that experience, because I want a good experience. And Duncan, so my boy, he had disease, and so he had a dilated cardiomyopathy, which is a big word for big heart, actually big floppy heart. And I could just tell he was getting worse, and I said, "All right, buddy, like this, I have to suffer, so you do not." And I had to let him go. So just breathing is the big thing. So any struggle, any signs of pale gums, like all these things, that is my big sign. Everything else, it's not great. I don't like a dog in pain, but we can get some pain management on and get, and triage it a little bit better. But breathing is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think you make a good point of like that does affect them, right? And a lot of people, they get scared of I'm taking good days from them. The thing is that we need to remember is that our pets are, one thing they always teach us is this idea of living in the present. And part of that is because they don't project into the future. They don't have a sense of or fear of mortality like us humans do. That part of their brain just isn't, it's different than ours, as human beings. And So they don't necessarily have that fear of mortality, of, what's going to happen in the afterlife. Am I missing any good days? That's not usually what goes through their head, but what they can feel is that distress in the present and in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I know I have, my current dog has separation anxiety. And
That's
like,
hard.
I can't, so hard, everybody,
Yeah.
let me tell you. And, so he's teaching me some lessons on anxiety and how to manage it and not like manage it. But I can't tell him I'll be back in 2 hours, chill out, right? He doesn't understand that. So he's just like, mom's gone, I will now chew everything. So that's, they are in the moment kind of creatures, which makes them beautiful, right? So, but yeah, it's taking it away from us. And I get it. Like, I would have given, my right arm for a couple more years with all of them.
And it still wouldn't have been long enough, right?
And that's why I know my book is it's never long enough, because it never is.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are just some things to keep in mind. And, ahead of time, because guilt really is so pervasive in this. And I really recommend facing that head on. The more we understand it and get curious about it, the less afraid of it or ashamed of it we are. And so something that can be so helpful is both writing a letter to your loved one and, make it a love letter, thank you for, I love you for, these are my favorite moments. This is the things that you got me through, that you were an anchor in my life for all these years. And stay with me here is also sometimes writing a letter from their perspective to you. What would they tell you? What would they tell you to get through this? And include that unconditional love, that forgiveness, that non-judgment. That is why this relationship and that bond is so profound, right?
I love that. You're making me cry. I was just thinking about Duncan. Duncan would not want me to worry so much. Like, he would have been like, "Mama, like don't worry and let me go." So I love that, and I love the love letter and the what did you say? Like, the love list. You said something good, and then I got all.
It's a love letter to them. It's I thank you for, I love you for.
I love you for. Oh,
Yeah,
that'd be a long list, Christiana.
Yeah.
I need a long piece of paper.
Yeah, take it, and that's what you should do, right? It's like it's not something that you throw on your errands list in between, run into the store. It's definitely it's work. It's morning work, and it's not easy. None of this is, but anybody who's been in my group has heard me say, like, we can do hard things, especially if we're gentle with ourselves. That's the key, because there are things that we're going to be able to look back on and like you said, eliminate some of that regret. So that can be something that we can do just emotionally to prepare. People say we can't prepare for grief. I want to change that. We can't avoid grief. There's some things we can do to prepare, in the sense of saying goodbye ahead of time, or even just, if we know that appointment is coming up, cooking a batch of soup and freezing it, for whenever that time does come. So you don't have to worry about feeding yourself for the next few days. So we can prepare. We just can't avoid.
No, I like that. And, there's with some evidence of if just saying I love you to the loved one that you've lost will help you a bit through your grief. And the pets that I still struggle with all of it, but that I really am struggling with, and it's been years, are my two cats that were gone tragically from me, and I was not there for them to say goodbye. And those are the ones I struggle with. And because I wasn't there, I also didn't say I love you, so I always recommend saying I love you every single day, a few times a day. That's my prescription for everybody, 3 times a day.
I love that.
Like, sit with your pet, no phones, unless you want to take pictures, but no phone, no nothing, just love up on them and say I love you, because you will always wish you had one more time to say that. And I wish I had one more time with my Goldie and my Bodie to say that. And about your soup, the other thing I did with Sam. So my girl Sam, she's been gone now maybe 2 years, and it was around this time where it was starting to get really bad, and she had senile lymphoma, so crazy disease. And I thought, I'm going to say goodbye around Christmas, and so I got like Christmas cupcakes for her, because she was going to have cupcakes on her last day, and she was starting to do good. She was doing the roller coaster thing, so I'd freeze them, because I'm like, all right, at least you got some cute cupcakes coming. And she made it through Christmas. She made it through New Year's. She made it through my birthday, which is January 7th. And so then I decided to let her go on Valentine's Day. And because she was a part of my heart. So on Valentine's Day, I let her go. And I looked at these frozen Christmas cupcakes and I'm like, oh no, you're getting some new ones. So I went to the food store and got her some Valentine's cupcakes.
Yay. Oh, I love that. No, and it's like, and every pet that we have, it's a different relationship. And so what we do to say goodbye is gonna be personalized, you know? So there's no, like, we can always offer ideas, you know, at least on the pet loss team, or we can Google them, but you know, there's no right or wrong way as long as it feels like right for your relationship.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that we leave some time for any questions, but
Right,
I did, you know, no, that's okay. I can talk all day about this. I do want to ask, you know, I know that Lap of Love does sometimes have doctors available for, you know, some hours on holidays. Now, do you see people calling on these holidays? Do you see that these appointments get taken, or that people do need those appointments?
So we do, because what happens is people wait and they want to make it through the holiday, and the pet cannot wait. So they usually call first thing in the morning. We do have in some areas, if the vet is available, we have a reduced, you know, we only have like maybe 3 appointments available that day. And that's if they're there, right? Like some of us go away. And so that's why it's good to call in advance. Not that we want that as our backup, but just know, so that way you know your backup actually is the emergency clinic. But we do help. I have helped on Thanksgiving. I remember some of these. Like I remember it was a CNI dog, and we said goodbye on Thanksgiving. I remember this dog. And I've said goodbye at Christmas time for families, and just with the Christmas lights twinkling on their fur, and we were under the tree, like, and New Year's Eve for Bogey. So it has, we are, and you know, even Hanukkah, like you said. So these are big holidays coming up that, so in some cases we are available, but I do suggest people call and just know the pricing also, because we have a holiday fee. These are veterinarians that are, you know, leave their homes and go to help you during the holidays. So I think it's just good to prepare for those things.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad that you brought those things up, that, you know, we want to be as available as we can, not being an emergency service, right? Like kind of.
That's it. Like, honestly, when we started this, I was 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I answered my own phone. And it was a lot, because I wanted to be, you know, available. And what I noticed was when I gave that option, people waited to the last minute, and it was 2:00 in the morning, respiratory distress, and it was not a peaceful goodbye. And once I stopped that to say, no, I want a good goodbye. Like I want you guys to have a good goodbye. That means we have to plan a little bit. And you know, to guarantee that, right? We're not saying that all emergency room euthanasias are bad, but it is rushed. It is, you know, whatever. So so just to know that, and I think it's important to know that, and making sure that people prepare a little bit.
Yeah.
I see we got Dr. Sarah got some love over there in the comments. So.
Oh, love it. Yeah, so we're gonna take some time for the comments, and I just really appreciate you from your veterinary perspective, you know, kind of talking with me a little bit about this subject that's really important to my heart. I actually facilitate, we do have an anticipatory grief group, a support group that there's no charge to it. Whoever feels that they need it can join. It's every week on Thursdays. And you just will be met with understanding, you know, no matter what you are deciding, you know, no matter where you are, there's always an emphasis on that, you know your pet best, but one thing we all have in common is that we love them so much. So if you feel like you could use support, definitely reach out for the support group, or even just a one-on-one, you know, personal support with myself or one of the other coaches. We want to be there for you before, during, and after this entire process.
And anticipatory grief can come way early. It doesn't have to be when they're sick, right? It's like, I noticed Duncan getting a few gray, you know, muzzle furs, and I'm like, ah! And I started like worrying about it. And you know, I knew his time wasn't going to be till 20 years old, and he was already 12. So I started worrying about it. So it doesn't always have to be when they're super sick. It's just when they're starting to get old. So I think it's important for people to not feel weird if they're starting to get nervous now. You could just do more things with your pet now, which is great, right? So.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I mentioned earlier that I have a almost 12 and 13-year-old pup, and they're hanging in there, but it's in my mind, like
Yeah,
every day is a blessing, right? That's kind of
it
just
is.
how it is right now. And let me tell you, I went and got those professional pictures
Good.
like ahead of time, because since you just never know. And to anybody who's thinking about that, we have so many pictures of our pets. How many do we have that are like really nice pictures of us
Yes.
with our pet? So
I have
that's
some
something to
great
think
ones. I did professional shots, and I had my one was with my Samoyed, and Samoyeds do a roo. They roo, so they do this. So anyway, and so I told the photographer, I'm like, I want her rooing, and get me a picture of her rooing. It's the best picture ever. So like,
about.
and she looks old, which I think is the most beautiful look, is when that they're crunchy old kitties and skinny wobbly dogs with gray fur. That's when they're the cutest.
Yeah. No, I know. I agree. There's this one quote that sticks with me. It's like, our animals, they teach us how to live, but they also teach us how to age and how to die, right? Because they're not afraid of it. They
That's
figure
good.
out oftentimes how to do it with grace,
Yeah.
in that sense. And so I love that you have that picture with that one moment.
Totally. That's it. Oh, that was a good that's a good quote. I did those today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm the quote queen. I can talk about quotes all day. Sometimes when you don't have the right words, that means somebody else probably said it better at one point, right?
Yeah, not me normally.
So let's just take a look at the comments, see if we have some love from Cheryl. And then Kristen, just you two are amazing. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Happy tears over here. Oh, I'm glad. We welcome all tears, happy and
Yeah.
sad. Just they're always welcome. And then let's see, Dr. Sarah, Lap of Love. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Was amazing. Yes, she is amazing. Oreo was 16 years old. Other than age, she had really bad skin allergies. My family was there from the day she was born until her last breath. She took what is it? The look she gave me the Monday before her passing, I cried so much, then scheduled Lap of Love, my last gift to her. It was so peaceful. Thank you for all you do. Oh,
Oh,
Tonda, thank you for sharing that with us.
yeah.
That's
Lucky
so
Oreo, right? To have such a good family to be a part
yeah.
of.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's 16 years. That's amazing. But like we were saying, just still not long enough, right?
Never
We
mind.
can make space for gratitude that we had that long, and that we wish we had longer.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem, is that they just don't live long enough. Like, why
Hmm.
can't they be like a turtle that lived, 30
Right?
years? Parrot, like, you can't get a parrot when you're older, because I just turned 50 this year. It's like, I can't, they could live 40 to 50 years.
Yeah, you have to put them in your will. You
You
have
do.
to plan. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions right now, but if you guys do think of anything, please feel free to just write it in the comments. We'll check back. And just I'll go ahead and leave our website, the link to the pet loss support in the comments as well. If you check on that, and just reach out, even if you have questions, if you want to know if this is support that you're looking for, that you feel like you need, or you're looking for resources on something like ideas for a bucket list, reach out. We want to support you. Okay.
We got some good ideas. And Christiana, can you remind me of is it daily, the pet loss support groups, Monday through Friday?
Yes, the pet loss support groups that are for after our loved one has passed is actually typically Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. Of course, we're a small team, so there might be a day where we don't have one here and there, but typically it is 7 days a week. We
That's
also
great.
have them for that traumatic and unexpected loss, which we said happens sometimes, as well as
Join that one, because that's my struggle one.
yeah.
Okay. And this anticipatory grief ones you do every Thursday, you said.
Every Thursday, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for reminding me to mention
I
that.
need to know, because you guys are great, and we're out in the field, and sometimes I'm like, wait. And then you also have one for children as well.
We don't have that one as much, just because
Yeah,
we found that those are better with one-on-ones to
yeah,
really, you know,
I
but children
know
express their grief a little bit differently than adults.
they
So
do.
we don't have a group for that as well. What we do have now, though, is one for behavioral euthanasia, which is,
That's really good.
yeah,
That's
we
really good.
talk about disenfranchised grief with pets, and then behavioral euthanasia that adds a layer to that. And we just want to make sure that there's a safe and sacred place that they can come and either listen or share whatever they want.
That's really good, and I know a lot about that with my dog with anxiety. Right, that's a behavioral type of problem too.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, he's not sick, but he is with his
Right.
the anxiety. Right, so that's a really good group. You guys are a great team. So we're happy to have you, and I'm really happy for our families to be able to have that support when they need it.
Oh, well, thank you. It is definitely one of our greatest honors. It's been so great talking to you, Dr. Mary. Thank
You
you.
too, as always. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thanks, guys. Bye.